Good evening and welcome to my How Healthy Are You weekly educational podcast. My name is Dr. Thomas Brewer. I'm a PhD chemist. And for this week's podcast, we had a question about a follow-up for a topic that was in last week's newsletter, namely this active form of folate known as 5-MTHF. And the question was, what happens if you're low in this? And the answer is, what happens is your homocysteine levels. Homocysteine is an amino acid, and these homocysteine amino acid levels, they elevate. And the result of that, you end up with circulatory and even neurological problems. So it's essentially inflammation. And it's inflammation of the inner walls of the arteries, a real bad place to have inflammation. So in last week's newsletter, I was talking about proper methylation, where you put these methyl groups where they need to be associated with your DNA. Methyl groups is a carbon atom with 3 hydrogen atoms, so they're known as CH3. So these homocysteine levels, when they're increased, it disrupts methylation. And the problem is older people don't really convert the dietary vitamin B6 too well sometimes, and that's why it said the enzymes come in. Folate is really B9, and the 2 B vitamins you really need for this good methylation is B6 and B12. And of course, both of those are in the Complete Vitamins Plus. But, that's the whole point, is when homocysteine increases, you don't get methylation. So that's the problem. We want to keep these homocysteine levels in the right range. Just like everything has to be in a range, your blood pressure, your cholesterol levels, your pulse, there's a range. And we don't want zero. We don't want our blood pressure or our pulse to be zero. Okay, the other question we had, and I'll be spending a little more time on the second question, is about stress and anxiety. And what's happened is, as a result of all the turmoil from last year that's spilled over into this year, there's a number of people in the U.S. and around the world that are experiencing anxiety like they've never had before. Now, this is due to being locked down, not able to go on vacation, not able to live your life the way you did in 2019 and prior. So this has a lot of physiological effects on the body, and emotional, psychological. The result is poor health, elevated heart rate, elevated blood pressure, inability to focus and to think, all the way up to suicidal tendencies. I mean, a very big problem. And this has been getting worse and worse, and it seems like we could be in for another round of lockdowns. And what we went through last year, there's a chance we could go through it again this year. Some states already are. I mean, they're already in a state of lockdown like they were last year. A country like England is the same way it was last year. So this is extremely bad, not only for the economy, but for the people, because there's a lot of unknowns, and that's what anxiety is. Anxiety is trying to live in the future. You don't really know what's coming. The difference with anxiety is the people that live in the past, that's regret. but when you're thinking about what's coming, that's anxiety. Comes from being anxious, but you're really thinking about something that's coming. So people are thinking about their economic future, and there's a good chance many people, their income has dropped drastically, and so it creates anxiety. Just like any time there's a job loss, you're not sure about economics. If there's a death, you're not sure about what's coming next. And we go through all these things in our lives, but this time it was the whole world going through this. So there's a couple of things we can do. Nothing is ideal, because the ideal answer is to get rid of the cause of the problem, and that's out of our control. So the real solution would be to eliminate the virus. Not a vaccine, just eliminate it. And that's not something, I don't think there's anyone that can do that. But we can prepare and not live in fear. So on the one hand, the best thing we can do is be prepared for any virus, which I've gone over in previous presentations, especially last year, and those are all on YouTube now, and more are being put up every day, but I'm pretty sure there's plenty up there already on YouTube, the previous podcasts. But in order to protect yourself from any virus, which will give you some confidence instead of anxiety, you keep some lightning colloidal silver handy. You put an ounce of it in your humidifier, perhaps once a month, mixed with a gallon of water. You make a 50-50 colloidal silver water solution in a spray bottle, and you spray your clothes perhaps once a week, perhaps spray your car once every week or two, spray your house every week or two. It's just a fine mist. And it'll give you a good, strong sense of security, because the silver will kill bacteria and mold and yeast and fungus. Since a virus isn't alive, it won't kill the virus, but it will deactivate it. It will destroy it. And that's what we want to do. So it'll give us less fear. The other thing we can do is keep our immune system strong, again, to reduce the fear. If your white blood cells are big and active, i.e., if your immune system is strong, then there's a lot less to be afraid of, because should you catch any virus, you'll be able to fight it off. Another big part of our immune system is the probiotic bacteria in our gastrointestinal system or gut. Same thing. Make sure you've got good digestion, good healthy flora in your gut, and strong and active white blood cells. If you need assistance with that, let me know. I have supplements, Steromax for the white cells, probiotics for the gut, and obviously a blood analysis will be able to tell you where you're at. If you need evidence that you don't have parasites in your blood, and if you need evidence that your cells are strong and active, then have me do a blood microscopy. Now, there's more though. In order to really calm down, we have to learn that there are three components of health, and most people aren't doing anything with one of the three. And the one most of us aren't doing anything with is breathing. So we've all heard about diets, eating for health, eating for weight loss, etc. We've all heard about exercise. I don't think there'll be any argument that diet and exercise are very important. But there's a third component that is rarely even mentioned, and that's breathing. And the reason it's not mentioned is because there's really no money in breathing. There's nothing to sell. It's very difficult to monetize teaching someone how to breathe. Now, what I did is I posted 2 breathing videos on my YouTube page. And I just want to go over the very first technique. It's called phase 1. And all you're doing is being consciously aware, thinking about your breathing. You're just breathing pretty much any way you want, but you're just thinking about it. And people have asked me, well, what difference does that make? Well, if you're thinking about your breathing, that means you're not thinking about anything else. And that's the first step to focus. And if you're focusing on your breathing, you're not focusing on the scamdemic, you're not focusing on getting sick, you're not focusing on your finances, you're not focusing on any other aspect of your life that you may feel is spiraling out of control. You're thinking about your breathing. So that's the phase 1 part of breathing. And I went up to phase 4. There is a phase 5, and I usually save that for private consultation. But if anyone is interested in learning that, it's pretty much just schedule an appointment. So breathing is a very necessary and important way to minimize stress, minimize anxiety, but it also improves your health. There are many techniques that will make you healthier. The phase 5 technique is one of those. It is for health. It is to improve your health. And it's even useful as a preventative for diseases. So it's very strong, very powerful. And, you know, breathing is, it's not something you have to buy. So there's no supplements involved with breathing correctly. And there's really no blood microscopy or analysis involved. Now, if I were to look at someone's blood and I see the black lines, they're called spicules, they're protein spicules, they're stress strands. That is an indication that the stress or anxiety in a person's life is affecting them physically because it's affecting their blood. So that is something to fix, because when there's these black lines in the blood, there's a very strong chance, greater odds, greater probability of getting a stroke. So that's something I take very seriously. The solution to those is twofold. If you have those black lines or spicules in your blood, the first thing is to take your plant enzymes. The second thing is the relaxation breathing technique. And I'm pretty sure that was number 4. I'm pretty sure that was the number 4 breathing technique. So there was a separate video for that, phase 4. And that goes into how to relax when you breathe. So it's a relaxation breathing, very good to get rid of those black lines. And that would also be beneficial really for anyone with anxiety. That video is right there for anyone to listen to. So that's all I have for today. I will be doing another call next week. If you look at my YouTube channel, you'll see more videos popping up there pretty much every day or two. And those are all there for you to enjoy. So until next week, I want to say thanks for listening.